1000 ELO is the magic milestone number for many chess players. Seeing 4 digits on your rating instead of 3 feels like a golden plaque on your name, like you can finally say, yeah, I'm good at chess. Yet, for many, this number feels out of reach because of 5 habits that are silently killing their ELO. And look, I'm not here to roast anyone, I've made every single one of these mistakes myself. But once you understand why these habits are hurting you, fixing them becomes a lot simpler than you'd think. Habit 1. Learning too many openings. This one is probably the most common trap I see beginners fall into, and honestly, it makes total sense why. You go on YouTube. You see a video titled, "The Best Opening for Beginners," you learn it. Then you see another one the next day. And another one. Before long you've got like 10 openings half memorized and you don't actually understand any of them. Here's the thing. The opening does not decide the game at your level. Below 1000 ELO, games are almost never lost in the opening. They are lost in the middle game and the endgame, through tactical blunders and positional misunderstandings. The opening is just the setup. Now, openings like the Ruy Lopez, the Italian, the Sicilian, these are what grandmasters play, sure. But they are incredibly deep. There are entire books. Entire careers built around understanding just one of these systems. Trying to learn them without a solid foundation is like trying to run before you can walk. What I'd recommend instead, pick one opening for white, one for black against e4, one for black against d4, and actually understand it. Know why each move is played. Know what you're trying to achieve. Know the ideas. One opening understood deeply will take you so much further than 10 openings understood poorly. Habit 2. Not castling your king. Habit number 2. Not castling your king. And before you say, I know, this mistake is so common that I still see players rated 1500 making it regularly. So it's worth talking about seriously. King safety is more important than material. Full stop. I don't care if you're up a bishop. I don't care if you're up a rook. If your king is sitting in the center of the board with open files and active enemy pieces pointing at it, you are in danger. And at lower levels, players might not always punish you immediately, but the opportunity is there. And eventually they'll find it. The rule of thumb is simple. Castle within the first 10 moves. Get your king tucked away, connect your rooks, and then think about your plan. When your king is exposed, your entire decision-making changes. You're no longer playing chess. You're playing defense. And reactive chess is losing chess. Habit 3. Not understanding endgames. Number 3 is one that even intermediate players overlook. Not understanding endgames. There's this assumption that endgames are complicated and boring and something you'll worry about later. The problem is, later keeps getting pushed back. And meanwhile you're throwing away wins you should be converting. The game doesn't end until the king falls. You can play a brilliant middle game. Outplay your opponent completely. And then let them escape with a draw because you walked into stalemate. That is heartbreaking. And it happens all the time. So what do you need to know? At a minimum, learn king and queen versus king. Learn how to avoid stalemate in that endgame, because it's a trap that catches people constantly. In this example, we can see that the black king is close to being checkmated. To do this, all we have to do is position the queen in an L shape away from the king. Sort of like if we were giving a check with the knight. Do this until the black king gets forced into the corner and only has 2 squares to move between. Then, we just have to bring our king closer and deliver checkmate. Learn king and pawn versus king. Understand the concept of the opposition. Understand when a pawn endgame is winning and when it's a draw. Here, we can use our king to guide our pawn to promotion, allowing us to make a new queen. Since it is black's move, our opponent has to move their king away, allowing our pawn to advance. If it was white to move, we would have to move away from the promotion square, allowing the black king to hide there. This would end in a draw since our pawn and king would stalemate when we reach the 7th rank. And then start getting comfortable with rook endgames. Because those are the most common type of endgame you'll actually reach in real games. You don't need to be a grandmaster level endgame technician. You just need to know the basics well enough to convert your advantages. That alone will add points to your rating. Habit 4. Not thinking about your opponent's moves. This one is a mindset shift more than a technical skill. And it might be the most impactful change you can make right now. Here's what happens at lower levels. And be honest with yourself here. You make a move, and you think about your idea, your plan, what you want to do next. But you don't seriously ask, okay, what is my opponent going to do in response to this? Let me give you an example. You push a pawn to kick away an enemy knight. Good move, right? But where is that knight going? Because if you haven't thought about that, it might land on an even better square, one that attacks your queen, or controls a key file, or puts pressure on your king. You just helped your opponent improve their piece. Chess is a two-player game. Your opponent is not going to play the worst move available. You have to think in terms of long-term investments, not short-term gains. Before you make any move, ask yourself, what is the best thing my opponent can do after this? If you can answer that question, and you're okay with it, then play the move. If you can't answer it, think longer, or consider another move. This habit alone will immediately reduce your blunder rate. It's free ELO. Habit 5, only playing bullet. This one might be a little controversial. Only playing bullet chess. Look, bullet is fun. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to never play it. But if bullet is the only format you play, you are not improving. You're just reinforcing the habits and instincts you already have. Here's why. Bullet chess is driven almost entirely by intuition and pattern recognition. And those are things that take time and experience to develop. When you're still building your chess understanding, playing bullet means you're making moves on instinct. And at lower levels, that instinct isn't trained yet. You're not learning. You're just reacting. In rapid chess, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, even 30, you have time to actually apply a thinking process. You can stop, breathe, check for your opponent's threats, calculate a line or two. That's where learning happens. That's where understanding gets built. And if you want to improve your pattern recognition specifically, do puzzles. Tactics puzzles are incredibly effective for this. In bullet, you'll often completely miss a forced checkmate or a winning combination, because there's just no time. In puzzles, you're training your eye to see those patterns, and that transfers directly into your games. So to recap, stop collecting openings and go deep on one. Castle your king early. Learn basic endgame technique. Think about your opponent's responses before you move. And swap some of that bullet time for rapid games and puzzles. None of this is complicated. It doesn't require you to study 8 hours a day or memorize theory. It's just about playing smarter, more intentional chess. And being honest about the habits that are holding you back. For more chess content that actually educates you, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and let me know in the comments which of these 5 habits resonates most with you.